I'm a man who believed that I died 20 years ago, and I live like a man who is dead already. I have no fear whatsoever of anybody or anything.
Gary Webb. I am an investigative journalist, and in 1996, I wrote a series of stories entitled Dark Alliance, which was about CIA involvement in drug trafficking.
I knew a man who once said death smiles at us all. All a man can do is smile back.
We've both been skull and bone to the secret society. It's so secret we can't talk about it. What does that mean for America? The conspiracy theorists are going to go on. I'm sure they are. I don't know. I haven't seen the rest. Number 322.
I sad duty to report this afternoon that my friend and colleague, Tim Russert, collapsed and died early this afternoon.
I may die in this cell tonight or in the arena tomorrow. I'm a slave. What possible difference can I make?
And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know.
What the fuck is up? Welcome to another Already Dead. Sorry about the delay. There were monsters in the mics or whatever the fuck. We were having issues this morning. We were here pretty early, but like, not this morning, this afternoon. We were running into issues right off the bat. I don't know. It sounded like you might have been having some issues, or Jules was. I definitely was. But yeah, we're here, guys. We're back at it again. I did not get a chance to watch The Ninth Gate. For those who are following along, I had a lot going on this week. So, by the way, I do want to let people know I'm now doing probably 3 or more of my morning streams. We're going to call them morning dumps now. And we're going to do about 3 or more of those a week. So that's just kind of where I go through articles or threads or whatever, just stuff that I've been meaning to get around to. Sometimes it might be something I've already looked through before. It's something I really want to talk to you guys about, but generally just going to be kind of going through information with you guys. So if you guys want to pop in for that, that should be fun. I'll probably do another one around like 9:30 Eastern time. But I'm here with my buddy Austin. You were just on William Ramsey's show recently. I'm working through the beginning of that. I haven't quite finished it yet. I'm backed up on all my podcasts right now. So,
You're good, dude. I understand, man. I was just worried about you, buddy. Wanted to make sure you were all good, but did you end up being able to even go to Bohemian Grove at the end of it?
No. I don't know if I guess you haven't been following along. I did a whole stream this morning with kind of talking about the updates in my life and the channel and stuff that happened. I mean, normally I keep stuff to myself, but considering I was like planning on going to Bro Grove and threw it off, and then also on top of it, this thing that happened in my life forced a change, at least temporary change at the minimum, is caused it. So now I'm going to be increasing my output of podcasts. So I figured it was worth telling everybody about. But yeah, my wife had a seizure on Friday. I didn't end up being able to go to Bro Grove. Unfortunately, I was dealing with her. She just got out of the hospital yesterday. So we spent like the weekend there. So that was fun.
Damn.
I mean, we're good now, but I've essentially been forced to go to part-time for a while, because, I mean, I explained exactly the reasonings why. Essentially, I have a job, my wife has more of a career, so if one of us has to pull something back, it's kind of like, it makes more sense for me to do it. My wife slightly gets paid more too, so it's like, whatever, because, everyone... I've told this, but I not too long ago I walked away from active duty. I was 11 years deep, so I walked away from a pretty good paycheck. So yeah, I guess that did make it so me and my wife made around the same as opposed to me being just the clear breadwinner at the time. But it made more sense for me to pull back. So essentially, but with that, I'm going to be upping my output of podcasts. So I'll be going part-time to be able to keep an eye on my wife, kind of chauffeur her to and from work because she can't really be driving. But with that, I'm going to be doing, I'll be putting out the same amount of like my afternoon stuff. So like obviously same amount of Already Dead, same amount of Tower Gang, same amount of the normal No Way Jose episodes, but I'm going to be knocking out more of those morning streams that I've been doing lately. Before I was doing like one a week or less, like one every other week. We just kind of when I was able to squeeze it in, very erratic whenever we had an opening in my schedule. Now it's like my schedule's pretty wide open and fairly consistent. So it's going to be probably, generally speaking, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. For those out there who are interested, probably will be the ones that consistently I'm probably, at least for the next month. Because, I mean, if my wife gets stable again, then I might go back to full-time, but we'll see. But obviously, I've told the audience, too, if you guys want to see, if you like this, if you like having more of this, and pay up, and maybe I'll be able to afford to do that. So just saying, but if not, that's fine, whatever. Either way, I hope my wife gets back to where she's stable. We don't have to be too concerned about it. And then I'd like to at least have the option to go back full time. So, if I get to a point where I have the option, but I don't need to, that's even better. But I'm glad to be back with you guys. I was a little bit concerned I'd have to miss this. I did miss some of my content that I intended to put out, threw off my whole schedule, but I'll get back at it. And like I said, I'll be putting out more too. So for people out there, pop in for the morning stream. It's basically like a morning show where I talk to you guys and kind of go through my morning stuff. It's more chill, morning dump. I like that. That's the title. The live chat came up with this morning. Yes. Someone asked how long I was in the military. I was active duty for 11 years. I was an E6 when I got out. So I was at that breaking point where I was like, if I did another enlistment, like I was like, dude, I'm just here. Like,
Right.
Yeah, like what am I gonna do? Walk away at 15? What? 5 years to a pension? That'd be pretty retarded. A lot of people say I was retarded to walk away 9 years from a pension, like I did, but oh well. I couldn't stick out another 9. It was miserable. So yeah.
I don't blame you, man.
Yeah.
Well, I'll let you have the time to watch the Ninth Gate then before I get back into the details. But I will say that Namrock hit me up like real. It wasn't long after we did the episode last week, and he said something about Roman Polanski and had sent me, I believe, this HBO documentary that was kind of like romanticized, kind of like really just helping rehab his image during the crisis times, I would imagine, right? Was seemingly what the motive was behind this HBO documentary. But it looked like it was produced by the Weinstein Company, right? So I missed, or the Weinstein brothers and Weinstein Productions. So then I immediately just like went looking into that for just a brief moment. And I found this whole article that was talking about how in 2009, when Weinstein, like he's circulating a petition calling for the release of Roman Polanski, and so of course this is by the time he's like a fugitive and was arrested in Switzerland or something and was facing these charges, but there was this op-ed in the Independent. And Weinstein wrote that he was emailing everybody I know to keep Polanski out of jail and argued the filmmaker was a humanist who had been made into a scapegoat. And humanist, that is very interesting, just as far as like this sort of like new age esoteric ideological background.
Which Weinstein are we talking about here?
Harvey.
Okay,
Yeah.
Harvey. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was like the Eric or somebody, like one of the brothers.
No. Yeah, my bad.
Like, wait.
I thought, my bad. I meant to say Harvey.
Well, you just
Weinstein,
did do a
but
Mockingbird episode, so I was like, did you like find some shit on the Weinsteins? Like, what?
Oh my
I
God.
don't know, yeah.
Well, I will say Mockingbird never ended, just like all the other covert operations that were very successful and lucrative for the intelligence agencies and the apparatus itself. And so Mockingbird just was rebranded, as all the rest have been. And, very much mutually exclusive with chaos as well, right? Essentially just flooding universities with professors and who are active operators from Operation Phoenix in Vietnam, and right, and remember in the Patty Hearst episode, like it's never ending when it comes to that. But Weinstein can continue to say, just as far as this final note, that it was a miscarriage of justice. And then in an op-ed to the LA Times, he reiterated that he thought Polanski was misunderstood, as was the industry. And this is my favorite quote of his in this article. "Hollywood has the best moral compass," he said. So, among the individuals who signed the petition at the time and were very vocal in Polanski's defense was Woody Allen, of all people.
Oh yeah, that
And
guy.
right,
Checks
and
out.
also one of the victims of Weinstein himself, right? Who was allegedly forced to give him a blowjob or something. I don't know, but either way, she was also one of the signatures on this petition that was circulating on behalf of Roman Polanski. So it's just hilarious. These individuals all clearly, exist in the same circles and are out for each other's own, best interest.
Did we talk on this show about the Abercrombie thing or not? I forget.
We just kind of mentioned it in passing because he
Okay,
was
because
like,
I think after that I did a morning stream and I covered it more in depth. So I think that's what it is. I don't know. Something you said jogged my memory. I just thought it was a funny aside. You're talking about like how his victim, stood up for him too or whatever. And it's I just found it with that Abercrombie thing. All right, the quick and the long and short of it or whatever with fucking with the Abercrombie thing is essentially I called it the Abercrombie twink mill on my channel is what I called it because that's kind of what it was. It was like literally kind of the perfect incentive structure to create like kind of exactly what like your generic gay man would be like. That's what I want. Like just kind of like a tight little muscly but like slim and fit and like just like a certain look and like they're like perfectly developing all the incentive structures to create this thing. And then a funny aside, apparently there are some people like within Hollywood and certain circles that that's actually how they got their rise was through that avenue, was through Abercrombie, is like the modeling. Now,
Right.
one that I found
Dude, I
that
think I know what
really
you're gonna
astounded
say.
me was God, you fucked it, Ashton Kutcher.
I'm sorry. I knew you were gonna say that,
dude.
dude.
He started as an Abercrombie model, which I'm like,
Yep.
yo, the implications of
amazing.
that. Once you know now what was going on there and how they were essentially whoring these like little twinks out, and it's like, what was Ashton like?
Oh my gosh.
I mean,
there's skeletons in his closet, no doubt.
I mean, that makes the freak off parties even more suspect with all these black dudes. And like, you've seen
see
this,
that
the ones
picture
with
of
like
him?
Leo and all the black dudes and the white shirts. And then like, I'm pretty sure was Ashton at those too. Cause I could just,
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
pretty sure
yeah,
I've
yeah.
seen those pictures and I'm like, that paints
he
a whole
was.
different picture. It literally comes off now like the meme, the like, I forget the name of the chick. I think her name's like Piper or something, little tiny little chick that's on the couch and then the five guys behind it. Like that's what it like, then like, it's like legit. And I'm
That's
like,
exactly
yo,
what
what is going
Right.
on here? What is with the relationships that these people make and how authentic are they?
For sure.
And you're like,
And
what is going on here?
I know, right? And no, there's no coincidence there, but at all. And everyone seems to be kind of pointing out the fact that all of the people that seem to be compromised by the Diddy network, right? At the very least, like knowingly named, and people have been, rumors have been very much circulating since Diddy's arrest went public and everything, but is basically the fact that they're all seemingly endorsing Kamala like publicly, right? Giving these like overwhelmingly
Like
glowing
Usher,
statements.
yeah.
Usher, yeah. That was
Usher
specifically interesting to me.
He
right?
was
When he
kind
went
of
and
the
talked.
Black Bieber in a sense, wasn't he? Because he followed the same path where he came in kind of younger into this crowd. I don't think he was as big of a hit like as when he was young like Bieber was, but he was one of those younger ones that came up through there. So he was like literally underage hanging out with Diddy and shit, I believe. And then like kind of came of age in that circle.
Yeah, I remember he
So-
said specifically that because I believe that it was his mom, like allowed him to go when he was underage and basically become, Diddy was his mentor in many ways. And
Mm.
so he was underage at all these parties, and he was asked specifically if he would ever let his children, go through that similar path, right? Would he okay that and authorize that very same path that he took himself? And he overwhelmingly, like it, you can find it. It's pretty easy to find, but he was just like, absolutely not. Like, there's no way I would ever allow my children to be a part of that. Like, and he got into at least minor detail about just the degenerate level of right of perversion that was taking place at these parties. And so I'm very much under the impression that it's kind of interesting because he did go on The View, like, not long, like it wasn't too long ago, but still probably months ago, if not before that. I honestly don't know when it was, but Usher went on The View and he refused to kind of like endorse any political candidate at the time. And it was interesting to me because he didn't really take shots from the only clip I saw, because I clearly don't watch The View, but still interesting. And then all of a sudden, all of these allegations are circulating about Diddy, and you see him, bending the knee at the
Mm.
Kamala rally. It's interesting, and
It
you have
almost
to at
makes you
least
wonder.
entertain.
Oh, you might
Yeah,
be about to say what I literally about to say. Is like, was this an intentional shaking of the tree at a strategic time? Like,
exactly.
I don't
That's what
know.
it very much
That
seems like.
is interesting. Either
Why
way,
do
I'm
these
happy with
things
it. But
occur in election years,
yeah,
brother? When did Epstein happen? I mean, it's very interesting because it wasn't very long after, right, Trump's election.
I
So
mean,
it's like,
the implications of that, though, if that were to be the case,
yeah,
is I feel like that signals like the death throes of some sort of apparatus,
yeah,
because like think about how, I don't know, how pathetic that kind of is. That it's like
mhm.
they would, to some extent, risk their own hide, or people tangentially connected to their side. And I'm sure, yes, people would say, oh, certain people are protected, this, that. But it's like either way, they're kind of, to some extent, shooting themselves in the foot. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, they may get through it, but it's like, but in some sort of weak attempt to try to somehow pull it through. But it's like, I mean, not me. Obviously, me and you aren't big Trump stans, but it's like,
Right.
like as you see all these people coming out, stumping for Kamala.
Mhm.
I think it's pretty clear she's not authentically winning. Like now,
Oh, no, there's no
maybe there's
way
a
in my
play for
mind.
her to win, but
Yeah.
like but it will be one of those things where nobody believes it. And you know
Oh,
what?
yeah.
I'm almost kind of happy with that. I would love if like the world just goes, like if all of America goes, I no longer believe whatsoever in the electoral system.
Right. Hey,
Great.
that's what I'm down for, right? Like, that's
Like,
that's a pipe dream for me. I hope to God
yeah.
something like that would occur, but it's only because I really do want the veil to subside for as many people as possible. That's truly the only reason that I would, you know, in any way kind of hope for that and put that out there and in some sort of manifesting way, because the main goal, like, is just to have this kind of large sect of society that seems to be overwhelmingly naive and just excruciatingly, I would say they've been indoctrinated at such a deep level to the current system, right? That it's essentially impossible for them to even imagine an alternative reality, right? And so that alone is it's at least worth hoping that individuals can be, you know like, my goal is to shake loose maybe a few good ideas that have gotten through when it comes to, right, the overwhelming sense of propaganda that we've just been drenched in from cradle to grave, which is essentially every single generation that you can point to. Since Mockingbird, like you said, you mentioned it, this it predated Operation Project Mockingbird. It was just it became that name. That was the name that it was given, but in reality, there has been a long-standing agenda, right, and manipulation, right, and especially when you consider the overall social engineering impact of Tavistock, right? The Frankfurt School, and let alone, right, the what is it? The uh, student association. I'm trying to remember now.
Oh, real quick. I
What
no,
happened?
I just got this just got nuked off of YouTube. Off of
Really?
at least off of my channel. So that's interesting.
Oh no.
All right, guys, be sure to
What do we do?
I don't know. It says I got the I just noticed all of a sudden like whoa, our
It went down
views
to 3
dropped.
from
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm like so it's just it's just your YouTube. It's going to my Rumble as well. So if people out there, if you want to do us a favor and you know to let the other people know out there, oh you know oh what the fuck, yeah definitely share you know the share Austin's or share the Rumble link or whatever. Definitely support the Rumble because you never know how long my YouTube's gonna last. Shit.
Yes.
I wonder that. Damn it. That annoying thing is that probably is gonna make it so I can't stream from there tomorrow. So anyone catching this, please be
Man,
sure.
my bad, buddy.
To,
I don't know what we
no,
said.
I don't. It
Go to
says
Rumble.
I'll let you know. It says that we want to let you know our team reviewed our content and we think it violates our self-harm policy.
Oh my God! What?
We know you may not have realized this was a violation of our policy, so we're not applying a strike to your channel. However, we have removed the following content from YouTube. Time it occurred 5:23. So if someone wants to go back to 5:23 and see what the hell we said there, I don't know. I don't recall saying anything about self-harm. I might have to protest this later because I don't believe I said anything about self-harm. Maybe I told our despots to do something. I don't know. But yeah, so that's gone. So that's fun. All right, I'll figure that out later. Luckily, it's not a strike though, so it's not going to affect my streaming. I think later, so that's cool. Yeah, I don't know why I didn't do a strike. I don't think I'm I think all my strikes have worn off, but I should immediately go to strike. I shouldn't. I've run out of warnings. But whatever, I'll take it. All right.
What the hell, brother?
That made me
That's
sweat for a
interesting.
second. I was like, oh fuck. But yeah, that is it's still a little bit of a little fucky. So
Well, I know that we certainly didn't suggest that for anyone, so I have no idea what they're referring to. But I will say that, what I'm really referencing is just like this oversaturated landscape of, really mind manipulators that are within especially this like new version of the alternative media, right? Which I think it's very much become like this, in many ways, this kind of really providing false hope to many people. It's a sad kind of reaction to the death of the mainstream media, and I think that people are really just unwittingly being corralled into these terrible information silos, right? And
I just
what?
realized I think that's when that might have been when I was making well, that was 5 minutes in. I don't think we got to that yet. I was saying maybe it was when I was making the comparison about shooting yourself in the foot or something. I was like, are they really that fucking retarded? They're like, I don't understand metaphors.
Oh no. Well, it is AI. It's entirely algorithmic, I would imagine, as far as like,
Yeah.
By
the way, I real quick, I do want to let you guys know. I saw there's a lot of people over at Rumble right now. I've been trying to make a habit of paying attention to it because I slip for some reason. Like how this works when we're looking at StreamYard, we see see right here. Here's a Rumble chat. That's specifically from Rumble. I see Rumble chats like normal, but the Rumble super chats, they don't even show up on StreamYard. And they don't signify they're a super chat. Whereas if you were on YouTube, if I even had super chats, it did show up in the StreamYard. So it is like I have to literally bring up a separate Rumble. So sorry, I do.
I can pull the chat up.
I'm just letting them know why I'm missing these. I do see. I guess you could bring it up. I'm just worried that it brings up
There's a pop-out chat. You can like pop it out to a different window, and it's just a chat.
Okay. Well, anyways, I have Not Nice Guy for $5. He says your absence was felt at Bro Grove. Very sorry to hear about your wife and pray for you both. Hopefully I'll catch you the next one. Appreciate it, man. Then Subliminal Messenger, fuck YouTube. Yes, fuck YouTube indeed. $1. Be sure to follow me on Rumble. Like it over there. Help boost this up over there. I'm trying to build up my shit over on Rumble because I am on shaky ground on YouTube, my friends. But yeah, okay.
Yeah, I gotta finally get at least get my Rumble up and running, because it would be worth having at some point. And I am concerned that inevitably you just can't trust YouTube at all. So it wouldn't surprise me if for some reason something happened to my YouTube at some point. But yeah, I don't know, buddy. I'm very much, not at all caught up in the sort of election hysteria as it in this very moment, when you see, like, it is hilarious as far as, like, did you just see Kamala make the statement that Trump will put you in camps if he's elected? And I just thought it was hilarious. Not at all surprising, but they always do kind of advertise what their kind of their inevitable goals become, right? And there always has been the theory of FEMA camps and right, any sort of individual who questions the official narratives and becomes a dissident to the state at any extent. Who knows what will actually occur in the coming years? But I will say that the tribal politics and just the collectivist trap that I mentioned earlier, like, it's just at an all-time high, right? Where I'm witnessing the two-party delusion and individuals just fully bought in. And for myself, I'm just very appreciative and grateful that I've at least kind of bucked the establishment narratives to such an extent to where I'm philosophically truly, like, upholding my own values, like at least the ethical, moral values that I feel like I would prefer to live my life based on, right? And I think that, collectivism is just inherently just a corrupt perspective. Like, honestly, it's like if people can't come to the understanding that democracy is clearly just the tyranny of the majority, then you're not seeing clearly, right? And just wielding the tool that is the state, if you believe that it's even functioning on behalf of your best interest, which all of us know that's not the case, right?
Yeah.
But still, we seem to somehow convince ourselves of this false narrative that if our guy gets in, then we can wield the state against our political opponents, or at the very least, right, have a few days in the sun for the next 4 years. And that's just a failed system, and I'm not sitting here trying to be negative, and this is something that is not at all popular, and especially in moments like we're facing at this very time, which is just the height of the election season.
I think there are positives, though, and this kind of, like, I guess in a sense, kind of goes back to the dying. This is a dying regime almost, and, like, yes, I get it. Trump and, like, the next generation of elite politicians, whatever, is still shit, but it is a changing of the guard, and I think the guard is now, to some extent, and this isn't at all saying go vote for or so and so, or that it's actually going to be better under this person or that person, but I do see that the changing of the guard to the new group, I think is, and I think this is a result of the people, of things like podcasting, like shaking up the media landscape. I think we have forced a better guard, and I don't mean that in like they're having to put on more of a show. They're having to actually be people, kind of like and I heard you and William kind of talking about your Pilgrim Society stuff. It's like, and how these are like elites that are like look down on people, and they're like very snobby. It's they're not going to be able to do that anymore. So it's like that has this purging effect of certain people. And so, like, while I still think at its core politics is rotten, I think to some extent the people, the it's like I forget who it was that put it, but it's like the productive class and the predator class. Like the productive class is produced to a degree that are causing the predators to have to be more sly. So it's like that it's a good thing in a sense. The changing of this landscape, we're causing a certain purging effect to happen, that certain negative people are being pushed out. Some are figuring out ways to adapt in this new landscape, but it's like you're going to have to adapt in this new landscape, and this is a landscape that is less hospitable to the fucking demons.
Right.
If that makes sense. You know what I mean?
I understand exactly what you're saying, and I hope to God that is the case, that it is just sort of a natural reaction to kind of like the meme, right? We deserve better psyops, which is, it's perfectly fitting because what really drives me up the wall.
Did you watch that podcast, the Trump
Yeah, I watched the whole thing. Yeah, I have notes on it actually.
Like him or not, dude, he is endearing.
I said it to my wife. I said it's so frustrating for me personally because I fucking want to like him. Like I see him at the UFC, I'm like, you son of a bitch. God damn it.
I frankly do like him. I just have this like
he's
cognitive part of me that's like I know his positions and I know how these games play out. I know the opposition, how things get framed, how things tend to shake out when certain people are in certain positions. Just because he is somewhat more in line with our beliefs in certain ways or another doesn't mean those are actually going to play out that way. Sometimes, especially in politics, things are counterintuitive. So
yeah, but I mean, of course, there's always like it makes it difficult because he is someone that, you know, if you're open-minded enough and you just listen to the person, like he's very entertaining at the very least, right? But I do also think that from day one in his first administration, I did always kind of make the argument to certain people in my life who just to try and kind of talk him off to the ledge as far as the Trump derangement syndrome was concerned. And it really was the fact that he's had decent instincts in certain, you know, contexts, right? So like there are certain times where he seems to have the right instinct and then is, you know, talked out of it or whatever the case by some sort of, you know, aide within his administration or, you know, some individual who's playing Rasputin, poisoning his mind. But, you know, I am also very much, you know, under the impression that the president has really very little control, right? And so I think that they serve as a puppet in many ways, and just kind of like provide the face of, right? Let's say they're the marketing tool of the executive branch, and they truly kind of like attempt to at least, you know, provide their base and individuals on the political spectrum that align with them with sort of like a plausible excuse for all of the different policies that they might be pursuing, whether they are some sort of either way. I just think it's a struggle, you know, especially when you witness the episode that he was just on with Rogan, because I hear him say some wonderful things, like especially about like, you know, the federal income tax, which is great, but also it's like his certain points on like $42 billion of internet access program, right? Which I thought was very interesting because it again is just a perfect example of, you know, let's say just the complete waste of government spending, right? And how we just effectively achieve nothing but the transfer of funds from the American taxpayer to the overall establishment, right? All-encompassing establishment. So I don't know, but
I do have a video real quick here I can play. I guess one gripe maybe I would have. I mean, there were others. This is just one that stood out to me, and I'll play it real quick. Let me see. You guys can see that real quick. Yeah, you can see. All right, let's do it.
So how does the deficit increase because of that?
So what happened is this. We were ready to rock.
Turn it up a little bit.
And then we had the...
let me turn it up. Sorry. Oh, yeah, it's way low. My bad, guys.
COVID.
So how does the deficit increase because of that?
So what happened is this. We were ready to rock and roll, and then we had the COVID thing, and we had to focus on that. And if we didn't give some businesses a hand, they would have you would have had a depression like in 1929. But we were ready to start. We would have very shortly been paying off debt.
So how does the deficit?
All right, now this came from a post I made. That, I mean, you guys can see it right here. Yeah, wrong. Ironically, this sort of instinct is exactly the sort of thing that leads to financial depressions. We would be in a much better situation had the government done absolutely nothing in response to COVID. Trump fucked this country. Which this is, a lot of people got upset in the comments here or in my replies, about, I guess not upset, but kind of be like, well, they were giving you money and kind of like, it shut everything down. It's like, so like, if they're going to shut it down, they have a duty to kind of do that. To some extent, I agree with it. Now, I like it. If you're going to, as the government, stop people from doing things, it makes sense to give the people the money, essentially. I mean, it's their own money, but it's like they're literally like, that's the only way you can make things work is from loaning from the future, your own future. I mean, essentially, they're forcing you into doing that. But that's the thing is, like, this situation was not exactly that. Like, even just looking at specifically the stimmies, like, even within every one of those stimmies, the stimmy that we got, which was, what was like, I forget, what did we get? Like 1,800 or 2,200? I forget how much it was. But either way, let's say it was 2K. Like, that was a small portion of the amount, like, what went out to people. Like, for the vast majority of that money was going to like big businesses. Like, this was going to this was like stock market shit. This was like, fucking these huge corporations that, like, if they were practicing sound business, would have had your finances structured in a way to be able to endure periods of like downfall. Like, but because they've gotten so reliant on the Federal Reserve coming in and saving their ass, they don't do that. It's what people call a moral hazard.
Right.
So
exactly.
yeah, that's I don't know. I know that I thought that was something that bugged me a little bit about that.
Well, of course, man.
Yeah. So I don't know.
mean,
the people have forgotten about COVID to some extent, just letting that one slip. I mean,
yeah, absolutely. But it's very, again, tribal politics, right? Like, you can't criticize, your chosen politician. And again, it's like, none of these people have clean track records. Each administration, overwhelmingly, outspends the prior. And
do you remember him bragging about how big they were?
Yeah.
How this is the biggest. Like,
exactly.
like branding himself as like the biggest fucking government give out.
Sure. And a perfect example of really somebody I saw in the chat just say that they essentially alluded to how unimpressive these leaders really are. And that's entirely accurate in my opinion, because like, really our expectations have been just practically just, in my opinion, like our expectations of who we should actually uphold as some sort of like legitimate, sound intellectual politician. It's just entirely, I would say, been destroyed from within. Because if you're looking at it now, we've been so dumbed down. They couldn't, honestly, the beginning of the conversation with Rogan and Trump, I was just kind of like blown away by how much it seemed like Rogan was trying to keep him on task as if he's a child. And that alone, I felt like is worth mentioning, because not at all does he come across as some brilliant intellectual, right? And not
Rogan?
as if that's what I'm hoping for, or
talking about Rogan, or you're talking
looking
about
for in
Trump?
some sort. Huh?
Who are you wanting to? Who are you saying not coming off like intellectual? Trump or Rogan? What are you talking
Donald
about?
Trump,
Trump,
right?
okay,
Which,
okay.
of course, like that's not his MO, is to come
I
across
do
that
want
way. But
to. I do want
will
to chip
say-
in real quick. I would say I used to listen to Rogan regularly. I don't know how often you really listen to Rogan. I used to listen to him all the time. I'll like very rarely, unless there's something huge, or like maybe like somebody like, say Dave Smith goes on. I'll probably catch it. Like, that's shit like that. But
Yeah.
he's not really the gotcha kind. Like, he said in that the interview multiple times that he did want to have Kamal on. And I think if he had Kamal on, he'd have a fairly similar type conversation where he wouldn't be trying.
I'm with you.
He's not trying to get you with gotcha. And sometimes the times in the past where there have been these moments on Rogan's show where they get like a gotcha. If anything, it's like it's worse because he's not trying to do it. Like, say for example with Barry Weiss with the do you remember that moment with the toady where Tulsi Gabbard was like a song, no, Assad toady. I believe that was the Syria guy.
Oh
What is
yeah,
his name? I
because
forget.
she had the
Yeah, yeah.
audacity to try and like
Yeah.
sort of play
Like
diplomatic
maybe we
relations
shouldn't go
with
try to do
Assad.
regime change over there over
Yeah,
shaky,
yeah.
on the spur fucking CIA intel or whatever the fuck.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was
Exactly.
the whole like him attacking his own people, which is pretty much bullshit. Point being is
Oh
when
yeah,
that happened, he wasn't really
proven.
trying to fuck her over. He literally was just clarifying, like, what do you mean by toady? Like, I don't think Joe knew what a toady was. He was like, I don't
Right.
think I've heard like a toady. She was just like, I don't know. Like, she didn't even know what toady meant. She was just saying something because she's heard it before. Like, oh yeah, she's a total Assad toady, and you're like, what? Yeah. So, anyways, point
Right.
being is he's not a. The Rogan Trump is a lot different than like Dave Smith versus RFK on Israel.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because they're very different vibes. I don't know if you ever caught that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That was wild.
I remember I posted about it because I'm pretty sure I used the picture of RFK Jr. with Epstein to essentially make the claim that he's more than likely, he's compromised by sexual blackmail, which, wouldn't at all surprise me. But guess what? His dad was terrible on Israel as well. So I don't really know what we're expecting. We act like the Kennedys are somehow, immune from criticism because JFK was assassinated, but Joe Kennedy himself was in the Pilgrim Society, and so were all the architects of the JFK assassination. So that becomes very interesting, right? Because it very much clearly turns out to be a much more, as far as like the story itself, there are so many different aspects of the JFK assassination that have never been contended with, including, Howard Hughes, as far as kind of his role that he played, because brother, John Foster Dulles and Alan Dulles' brother, which in reality, Alan Dulles and Bissell.
What was his? What was he again? He was
Richard
a secretary.
Bissell.
He Dulles. I know. Obviously, one
Oh,
was
yeah,
head of
John
Alan
Foster
was the head
Dulles,
of CIA, but John was what was he? He was a secretary
Eisenhower,
of something.
Secretary of State. Yeah.
Yeah, Secretary of State, which is wild. Like
Right,
you
because
think
that's the
about that
same
duo.
administration that Nixon was the vice president.
Yeah, there were. God, was it? Maybe it was you, or maybe it was my audiobook I'm reading on Alan Dulles. I think they were literally talking about that, like, that essentially that it seems like I forget which president was it. Nixon? I forget who it was. Maybe it was Nixon. Was basically just kind of seen as almost being their bitch, in like almost like he was there, like they were the handlers almost, like, which is kind of wild. They were the schmoolies. They were the 1-2 punch schmoolie back then. Yeah.
Oh my God, I read a whole super in-depth article about how Shmuley actually was the one who introduced Trump and the damn it, why am I Adelson and the Adelsons. That he was the one, and essentially he's like some sort of covert operative that's like playing some essential role in this network, because he very much introduced the Adelsons to Trump and then kind of helped provide that bridge, right? And this was all leading up to Adelson's death.
Wait,
and then
so
of course,
this was through RFK though, I'm assuming, or straight up through
No.
Shmuley, like Shmuley
through
directly to
Shmuley,
Trump.
man. Yeah.
Okay, that
Yeah.
checks out. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not playing. This is in a very credible publication, right? And an in-depth article. And Miriam Adelson, like it very much explains the connection between how Miriam Adelson really kind of is loyal to Nikki Haley, and that she wouldn't provide Trump with all the assistance that he needed until Nikki Haley was out of the picture. And so they met prior to Nikki Haley stepping down and backing out of the primaries, and it was very interesting. But she had already essentially promised him the campaign funds that he was seeking, and gave him over basically $100 million to for his Israel policy. And it was really the Adelsons who helped steer Trump toward moving the embassy, and so that the ultimate goal there is full and total ethnic cleansing. And that's even stated, and Miriam Adelson's made it very clear that, like, in no way is there any solution other than the total extinction of the Palestinians in Gaza.
I will say, not that
Yeah.
I'm at all buying into 5D chess bullshit. I did see some clip with JD Vance, and I've also seen some other murmurings. It seems like they're kind of, I don't know if maybe they just feel in the wind there's a large enough contingency of people out there that aren't fans of supporting Israel's wars. It seems like, I know JD Vance said something along the lines of like, it is not in our best interest to be getting into any of their wars. But he's kind of like, so that seems to be the line they're treading of like, you do your thing. Obviously, there's this unsaid, we're still going to probably give you money. But, we also, aside from that, we don't want, we want this not to happen. We want this war not to escalate. So it seems they're doing the same game as essentially Biden's already trying to do, where it's like we're going to try to ride it as close to the line as possible so that we still keep you on our side, but we really don't want this to happen because it is kind of not in our incentives, and it does seem to be that way. That for the most part is not in anyone's benefit. It was not in the Democrats' benefit to be letting this shit slide. Can you imagine if they had actually taken a bold stand? How well they'd be doing in this election. You know what I mean? Like, think about that. No one wouldn't be just looking at them like, oh, Trump's about to kill. Like I feel like most people, like Cenk Uygur, I think after the Rogan thing made some big speech about how great Trump looked and blah, blah, blah. Obviously it's couching like, I don't really care for him, but it's like just stating the facts that like, it's pretty obvious that like, and it's almost like the death throes again. The thing coming out from the left lately has still been more of this weak, limp-wristed, like, you guys are Nazis. They turned that up. And so it is just this like weak, kind of almost accepting of that we lost. So, and I think that is kind of a result of that. So my point being is it clearly is not in their best interest to be for it. So they're trying their best to do it. I know. Trust me. I'm not saying JD's not, an issue. He was bought by, the guy who made Palantir. So, but point being is I do think they don't want it to do, but I don't think they're literally playing a very, 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 very dangerous game where they're like, we're going to let it get as close as we can to not to not piss you guys off, but not far enough. Like they're trying to straddle this almost impossible line.
You saw North Korea sent like 10,000 troops to Russia to essentially help fight the Ukrainian conflict. And didn't really surprise me, especially since I just mentioned like a week ago or something that North Korea threatened South Korea because of drones being used, basically infiltrating their airspace, right? And in Pyongyang, in the capital city. And but either way, it does seem like, dude, I saw something else too in regard to Taiwan, right? And I believe it was the fact that I think Dave DeCamp wrote up another article in regard to China and Taiwan. And it just obviously, like all of these different geographical conflicts, right? They're really just geopolitical, international disputes that have been kind of like, in my opinion, very much have been manufactured and staged like to essentially, I would imagine, it seems like the ultimate goal is for this inevitable consequence of a true international conflict breaking out all over the world, as many different spheres of influence as possible, and utilizing proxy forces, of course, as long as they potentially can. But that escalates so quickly. All you have to do is send a few U.S. troops to the war zone, and as soon as you report on blood in the game, then you're going to have at least some sort of sect of American society that will inevitably support this conflict, or at least some version of ratcheting up the conflict, right? Which is always the case. But either way, I do agree that JD Vance is compromised by the Teal Network, of course. But I will say to that Taiwan point that I made, though, Taiwan signs deal with the U.S. to purchase 1,000 attack drones. The U.S. has plans to create a hellscape of drones in the Taiwan Strait in a future war with China. Great. So, I mean, once again, buddy, like, This is just the establishment doesn't lose every 4 years. All right. And I'm tired of people being under this misconception. It's just flat out ridiculous. And if for anyone to actually believe that these, like you mentioned, what William and I had kind of talked about for just a brief moment was the fact that I was highlighting the reality that these oligarchs, right? These elite oligarchs, these bureaucratic monsters with zero accountability, stealing our wealth, misappropriating it, sending it elsewhere for it to come back into their lined pockets. It's all a massive Ponzi scheme, right? And all they're doing is attempting to win a popularity contest on who is the face of this Ponzi scheme. And it's worse than that, of course, because we're dealing with, mass bloodshed, right? I mean, every consequential notion you could ever imagine government being involved with, which ranges the full spectrum from snuff films to human trafficking. I mean, what are they not involved in, right? And so how could you view the establishment itself as an ethical tool, right? To utilize in what? And what are you going to do with this tool you call the government? Are you going to, not you yourself, Jose, clearly I'm just bitching to the majority of individuals who seem to be under the spell, right?
Yeah.
And because it's, man, what if the intention is for us to believe, right, that there is this alternative? The hopium is once again back in the cycle, and we're under this false impression that these false prophets themselves are worthwhile and have the best intention for society, when in reality they just want to make, right? They want a monopoly of their own. They're playing the game in every conceivable way, right? All of these different influencer operatives, they go straight to the 3-letter agencies and tell them, we are at your beck and call. What would you like us to provide for your apparatus? So therefore we can, have a cut in the scam, right? And that's unfortunately what we go ahead, buddy. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're good. You're good. I was just gonna say, I think we should transition over to the call-in portion. We do have two people behind the scenes. I don't know. One of them shows you don't have your mic or cam set up. The other one, doesn't show a cam, so maybe you're just going mic, and so it's your mom and John Galt. I'll bring on your mom in a second. I don't know if maybe we've had people before that get confused and just think that's a link to watch the show, and they watch from the behind the scenes on StreamYard, and I've had people go the whole episode. That's cool, but we'll bring you on, see if you actually are somebody. But before we get into it, I do want to let you guys know that today's episode was brought to you by NadeauShaveCo.com. If you want to get rid of those that razor burn, that irritation, those ingrown hairs they're given to you by those multi-blade cartridges, this is the way to go. Go back to the traditional shave. You can shave just like your grandpa used to, whether you're shaving your entire face or just edging up your beard. The single blades give you a barber grade shave for a fraction of the price. The standard issue gives you the one safety razor and a box of 100 stainless steel razor blades. And let's be real, you can use those for 1 to 3-ish times, so you feel like it's getting dull. And so that's $75 for all of that. That allows you to shave for an entire year. Let's be real. Think about how often you shave. That's probably gonna last you longer. Now, if if you think you need more than that, you're probably in the realm of Quarter Shave Club. You're probably shaving on the daily, and that'll put you at about 25 cents per replacement blade. That's over at NadeauShaveCo.com. It's a COVID mandate refusing company. That's how this company was born. Use Jose at checkout for 10% off your entire order. All right, let's get back into it. I'm gonna bring up the number. Actually, let's check in with these people before I bring in the call-in number. See if they actually are here to talk or if they're just confused. What's up, your mom? What you doing, bud? Nope. Okay, cool. If you are later do decide you do want to talk, put something in the private chat to let us know that you can talk. Sure. But all right, cool. Well, let me bring up the call-in number. So I think that was just maybe somebody confused or maybe they forgot. Either way, Jules, actually, you want to put something in the private chat? Maybe they walked away. Maybe say something like, "Hey, your mom, let us know if you wanted to come up and talk," or something like that. But all right, the number to call in is 941-281-5857. That's where you can call us in and say hi. Otherwise, if you're a patron of me or Austin's, we put out the link to where you guys can be like your mom that we were just trying to talk to. But yeah, you can come in as a talking head alongside us. Like that.
Yeah, what's up, dude?
Yeah, I had the wrong format, so it didn't show them before. But all right.
By the way, this account I follow on Twitter called Gumby, they're super cool. At least they've had some legitimate threads in the past that I've really enjoyed. But they mentioned the fact that the Palantir executive Joe Lonsdale called for the U.S. to strike or invade Gaza and kill them all immediately, and he's a direct backer of Trump. And essentially just says that the deal is right there. This is very simple. He says the deal is that they release all the U.S. hostages, or else the USA comes in and kills them all immediately. Says Palantir executive, and very much like a prominent Trump donor and backer, right? And so it's just very, of course, you're going to see the inevitable ensuing consequence of the policy in Gaza, right? And that is, I don't understand how, foreign conflicts just aren't at the top of mind when it comes to just tax-paying citizens who are desperate to see their wealth clearly, appropriated in a just, of course, like, I am in no way, you already know, philosophically opposed to the state. So in no way. And of course, like, I understand what Uncle Ted mentioned about Taiwan being like a geopolitical tool within the context of, the microchip manufacturers, right, in Taiwan, which of course you're going to have like all these geographical, as far as just the geopolitical chessboard at hand, that's always going to be a factor. It's never not going to be a factor. But I do think that, like, what Trump said on Rogan about Iran is just very fitting, especially because it kind of reminded me of my Operation Dark Winter episode, because I kind of got into that fact as far as just Trump himself, like, playing into the establishment narratives in regard to
Wait, what
Iran.
Did he say about Iran? You talking about on Rogan?
No, yeah, on Rogan, he mentioned Iran in the context of, look at Iran. We would have never had that attack on Israel. And then, yeah.
Russia
like,
never would have invaded Ukraine. They just would have known better. It wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, you should have heard what I told Zelensky. He says, and then he says, "Oh, it's actually what did he say? It's basically he crossed the line, so it wasn't something he wanted to repeat out loud, but I just thought it was interesting." And then they talked about how Kim Jong-un, and when he called him Little Rocket Man, and basically, Kim Jong said that he had a red button, and then Trump said, "I have a red button too, but it's bigger." And then what I thought was interesting about that, though, was basically that he had it was kind of interesting because it was another example of, like, he doesn't have the worst instincts when it comes to, like, clearly he wants to sort of like negotiate some sort of peaceful environment between nations, and especially since he mentioned how Obama himself said that North Korea was the number one threat, right, whenever he transitioned office. And then he goes, okay, well, I'm going to deal with North Korea on day one then. And then you have that huge blowout with Kim Jong-un and Trump on Twitter, which I thought was hilarious, right? And but then he claims to Rogan that he goes over there and he talks to him, and he's like, "You have all this wonderful beachfront property. Why don't you just relax and go to the beach? And why are you making all these nukes?" And then Kim Jong goes, "For my own protection, for defense."
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
He's not entirely wrong.
I mean, do people like getting stabbed in the asshole to death? Generally not. Yeah.
Exactly. Look up
see how this
Gaddafi,
played
right?
out otherwise. Yeah, that
100%.
dude de-armed years prior because he was in a similar situation to, like, kind of the Iran type situation. People are like, "Oh, are they gonna make nukes? Are they not?" And then at some point, there's like, we're not. I don't remember if they actually had some, but they were like, we aren't going to try. And then trying to appease us, and not too much longer after that, stabbed to death in his asshole.
Dude, 100%, man. I mean, I covered it in because I mean, Scott. I thought when Scott wrote about that in Enough Already, it was really put into the perfect context. Is wonderful. That book is just phenomenal, but it comes up in the context of
Real quick,
manufactured
I want to let the
consent.
audience. I want the audience know real quick. I'm going to cut this short, a little bit short today. Probably only going to go about 15 more minutes. I'm just letting you guys know for the purposes of calling in. So you guys have about 15 minutes to call in if you want to. But sorry, just letting you know. Go ahead, bud.
No, you're good, buddy. I'm just saying that it always falls into the concept of manufactured consent, right? And so it's every single one of these military conflicts. They're just the goal is utilize the Mockingbird media, right, to manufacture consent of the governed, and then, right, pocket the money, and the resources and the wealth and the power that comes along with that, with all of that. And so you just consistently see, right, the same exact framework over and over, just so this repetitive nature from the Ukrainian, Ghost of Kiev, right, to manufacture consent for the Ukrainian conflict, right, to babies in incubators with, which, by the way, when South Korea is infiltrating North Korea's airspace, they're dropping pamphlets, leaflets, just like what happened to the Kurdish forces, right? It's ridiculous, man. When it comes to George Bush Sr. dropping pamphlets, to essentially get the Kurds to rise up and fight against Saddam, and it's like, my gosh, right? When you just witness the fact that our State Department had given Saddam a blinking green light to invade, and which they claimed it was just some border dispute, but then he inevitably invades and Desert Storm takes place, and because he secures the oil fields, it was clearly a pretext, right, for a conflict in Iraq, and for anyone to not be able to see that sort of, you mentioned 5D chess, that's really just more like, straightforward, sophisticated strategy when it comes to foreign policy. But it's something that we should be able to recognize a little more often than we do, right? And so I'm just a little bit tired of these false flags generating the consent necessary for these overwhelmingly consequential conflicts that, they have no positive outcome in any way whatsoever. Right.
I did want to spend the last 15 minutes. I spent a good deal of time. So we're going to kind of talk about this one a little bit, like you guys know some of this stuff, because I know this is kind of a deep cut here. But on my morning stream, I did kind of give a little bit of exposition on some of the players and what's going on here. We'll do a quick and dirty, but I did want to get your thoughts on this. I covered this thread. This is from my buddy Richard Booth. He's the one who did my Oklahoma City bombing series, who I did with. It was like around like 15-ish hours. But this guy is the dude. But essentially, I'm not going to reread the whole thread like I did earlier today. But essentially, there is a lot of people trying to make the Middle Eastern connection to the Oklahoma City bombing, and the way they do that is through Terry Nichols, which was the guy who was proposed to have helped Timothy McVeigh taking on kind of an ancillary type role, not any sort of primary role, in kind of little bit odds and ends here. And he went to the Philippines a fuckload of times, and there were a lot of people who made claims that he met with Ramzi Youssef. It's kind of weak, the implications. It comes down to some claim that there was a meeting with Ramzi Youssef and somebody who was the farmer, is what they called them, and it's like, okay, I don't know. I don't remember how they even got that information. So like shady to begin with. Second off, like really connecting farmer to Terry Nichols, a little weak. But I got a call. Fuck, right as I'm trying to explain something.
Damn it!
You want to take it off? You take it off. I'm gonna get this set up. Okay.
Sounds good, buddy. I just think that once you figure out that you have all these different overlapping threads in regard to not only Iran-Contra and Danny Castellero's octopus, but all of these various clandestine covert operations that consistently tend to overlap as far as witnessing these recurring threads, right? These connections, these individuals who tend to resurface time and time again in these sort of not only false flags, but just covert operations in general, or clandestine operations, or any sort of, controversial scenario that very much glows, right, with the influence of spooks and mind manipulators, like I've mentioned before, and just flat out covert operatives in the field, utilizing their clandestine positions to attempt to provide plausible deniability for it all. But when it comes down to it, this provides another connection to the 1993 World Trade Center bombing, which, what the fuck? When it comes to what I just covered with the Omar Mateen, the Pulse nightclub shooting, well, here's something else, buddy.
Real quick. All right,
Yeah.
Austin. Damn it. It's doing the mic thing again from earlier that it was doing earlier. All right, I'm going to try to talk normally. But essentially, we have someone. Let me make sure. All right. We have someone with us who called in. You are on Already Dead with... God damn it, my mic keeps doing this. You are on Already Dead with Austin and Jose. What's up, man?
Can't hear him.
Or to meet me up, but
sorry, start over. I had you muted. My bad.
It's all good. Hey, I was looking forward to meet you at Bro Grove. Sorry to hear about what happened there. Maybe I'll catch you at the next one.
Hell yeah, dude. I definitely would have rather been there. So.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, so I have a question for you guys in a way. So it's like talking to a lot of people at Bro Grove, asking them about the whole voting situation, and my take, my stance pretty much has been, I don't really like any of the options, and I really don't feel like voting. And of course, you get I get the typical, well, if you don't vote, you can't complain, or, well, you should still exercise and still participate. And I kind of see their point, but I also, I don't want to give consent to any of these people. Mm-hmm. And so I really don't know what to do here. What is there a way I can look at this where I can feel good about casting a vote?
Okay. Well, I appreciate you calling in. I guess we'll answer that real quick. But yeah, is there anything else you want to say before I let you go? And we'll answer that.
No, not really. It's just, I feel kind of stuck this election.
Yeah, I feel you. All right, well, I'll let you go. Me and Austin will talk about this one because, as you know, if you've been following along, I do not have the proper technology for you and Austin to have it back and forth. He can hear you, but you can't hear him. So, well, I have to let you go. That's your question you got in. We'll answer that. Appreciate you calling, but I definitely wish I had been there. I would have liked to have met you at Bro Grove, but I'll let you go. Call in again next time. I'll see you, buddy. All right.
Yep, you too. Thanks, Jose.
All right, bye. Yeah, on the voting thing. Yeah, no. I think he was kind of getting at I am not of the opinion that voting grants any sort of consent. I know a lot of people like to make that claim that and then I also am not of the opinion that voting is immoral inherently. But now I do think it's not pragmatic, generally speaking. Obviously, I think the smaller the grouping of people, the more pragmatic it may or may not be. So there may be other conflating factors, but generally speaking, in a federal election, just don't. Why are you even wasting your time? Yeah. I mean, it really is just that simple. Like a simple math.
It's a rigged system anyway. Yeah. It's hilarious that people will, dispute the outcome of 2016 or 2020, I mean, and then, act as if it won't repeat itself, or there's some sort of, well, it won't happen again, and it's just, that's absolutely ridiculous. You already know the election process itself is completely just ridiculous when it comes to any sort of real accountability and real, let's say, representation through the process. And so in no way do I see, well, I will say that, I understand why it's so difficult for people to kind of reject it, because it's been really described and, as some sort of inherent philosophical right that we're supposed to uphold, right? And it's our duty as sovereign citizens, when in no way do I believe that that's philosophically sound. And and so I just, once you like I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, that veil of naivete kind of falls to the wayside, right? And I see people making the argument that, right, there are positive consequences to war, and you know not when you consider the moral outcome, right? Like that is it's like, just because you provide jobs and provide government programs, that it's like, in no way does that justify ethically the concept of war itself. That's just ridiculous. But I do understand why people have been convinced of that. We don't live in a utopia. There is evil in the world, and in no way am I acting as if it doesn't exist and we won't have to contend with it. But to not realize that government itself is just the largest organized crime syndicate in the world, with right, the inevitably just like a monopoly in every industry, right, providing the winners and losers of said industry economically. It's just full spectrum dominance of all of global society, and it's something that I think people need to understand. But I personally, I will not be voting. I mean, but that's just my personal opinion, and where I am as far as my ethical foundation morally. I don't want to be participating in this system as it's currently constructed. I just don't. I don't want to be. At least in my mind, I view the collectivist mentality as the poison pill, right? And I am an individual at heart, and I will never side with some overall collectivist nature, whether that is democracy. If I am philosophically opposed to democracy itself, right? And so I just don't, I don't view participating in that system to be some sort of victory. Or
Guess what,
some sort of,
Austin?
well, it
Me
could
and
be
Jules
worse.
voted, and we're about to fuck you. So,
Shit. But buddy, the point that you made, right, and that Richard had brought up, right, about that overall connection between the Philippines
real
and
quick,
right,
real quick before we
right.
get into that, I did want to say, Not Nice Guy says, I think presidents are selected, not elected, but I'm feeling incredible pressure to participate. Yeah, we are getting to a point where it's getting really gay, and everyone's coming out like, this is who I'm voting for. This is why we need a big man, or we need a what? Like I just don't care. Like I don't know. Maybe I'm just like, it is annoying because you're like, it's more like you're just clogging up my feed when it's like it could be something interesting. I just got to the point where I'm just bored with it. I mean, if you do, I mean, whatever, you're feeling incredible pressure. I mean, I would just stop. I would just kind of just like nod and go, and just like not engage and just be like, people might just assume that you are voting and whatever. I mean, I don't know. You don't have to lie, but I mean, if you want to, who cares? Yeah, I'm voting. Whatever. Don't waste your afternoon. Who gives a shit? Lie.
A little bit.
Like, I don't know. It just doesn't matter to me. It's like, it is, it's an exercise in futility, because it's like, yeah, sure. Theoretically, if I somehow had a magic 8-ball, I could probably know how certain people, if I pick, it will play out. But the idea, people have this simple idea of like, well, Trump better than Kamala, so therefore that good. But it's like, there's so many other dynamics in play. It's like we've mentioned, I've talked about this in the show, the idea that, like, say with gun control, more gun control got passed under Trump than did under Obama. Does that mean that that Trump is more in favor of gun control than Obama? No, right. It's just a matter of under a Trump presidency, you're more able to get that shit through. So it's like, the point being is, it's like there's so many different dynamics. It's not as simple as like, well, I like Trump better, so that's what I want. It's like, okay, but that might not be what you get. You may not get those policies in reality. So it's like, and what matters is what you get in reality. And you don't know what you're going to get in reality. So it's like, I mean, and if anything, by that logic, you can almost go the opposite way. But it's like, that's not even necessarily true either, because it's a dangerous balancing act. Because it really could be as simple as like, well, that bitch is crazy, and she's going to go to every fucking war because she is complete puppet of theirs. I don't know. Or maybe there will be a right wing at that point that has a fire in their ass because they don't like the other side and they actually are effective. I don't know. Point being is it's like kind of trying to play out all these different factors in your head, and when everyone just tries to like dumb it down to just like, well, this guy's slightly better and he has more policies I like. And it's like, okay, but that doesn't mean that's how it plays out. And the idea that you're going to be some supercomputer all over like an afternoon and of a vote that means almost nothing. It's way too much trouble to even put yourself into, even like for it to matter, like to run that equation in your head. Like, why even bother? Like, why have this dilemma? It's a silly fucking dilemma to have. Just move on with your life. Go hang out with your kids for an hour extra as opposed to going to the voting polls.
I have to wake up early to go vote. Fuck that.
Fuck that shit. Like,
in
all seriousness, yeah. But let's get back to that because I do want to wrap up, but I do want to get your thoughts. What were you saying about the 9/11? Because the whole point of this is that it's not the Middle Eastern connection. It's kind of like because the neocons have always tried to push this. It seemed to be like maybe there's some truth to it.
I just think the connection to Ramzi Youssef
Yes.
is ridiculous.
Which he's one of their people, wasn't it? Yeah, he was like one
Exactly.
of the dukes. Yeah.
That's the issue.
So it's like Ramzi Youssef said, it's like, oh, your fucking dude said, your fucking terrorist
right. Yeah,
said,
your operative.
Like,
yeah,
which
exactly.
I don't even know if that's where the intel came from. I forget where the intel of the farmer came from. But either way, the implication is Ramzi Youssef, your fucking spook, like essentially.
I mean, it gets so much crazier than that because I'm realizing that this is consistently reemerging within the context of mass shooters and not only just covert operations, but mass shooters being trained, right, by allegedly state sponsored, right, in this covert operation. But
yeah.
What is very
real quick,
interesting.
did you mention because I was zoned out, I was trying to set up the call. Did you mention the big punch in here? Did you actually? I figured maybe you.
No, I didn't go through
up.
it. I'm sorry.
Okay, because I want to let the audience know. There's always this Middle Eastern connection. Richard found this. Just a long and short of this. He found, and I gave you the kind of little preamble about about Ramzi Youssef and how some people have this theory that Nichols during his trips in Philippines was meeting there, but come to find out that in 2011 a PATCON operative said that Terry Nichols met with Jack Terrell in the Philippines, which Jack Terrell was, I guess, some Iran-Contra guy.
Exactly.
So there you go. Now it's come back to CIA. So now this starts to make more sense. And this makes sense to the audience now to where you're getting at with like, training killers. Now, do I know that's what Nichols was doing? I don't know what Nichols was doing with Jack Terrell, but the simple fact that Nichols is in the fucking Philippines meeting with an Iran-Contra fucking operative, fucking weird.
Especially considering Iran-Contra is deeply implicated as very much, let's say, a primary tentacle within the far-reaching octopus of global control and Danny Casalero's connections to Iran-Contra. It starts to blow your freaking mind. And then here's what I thought was insane. You talk about strange synchronicities, right? And that is the fact that Tripoli goes on Rogan. All right. And at the end, like the last 40 minutes of the episode, within the last 30 something minutes.
We've both been on the guy's show that went on before went on this Rogan the exact same day as Trump. Like
isn't that crazy?
That's a fun little factoid.
You know what's hilarious?
You're like, remember the biggest podcast ever that was like a big deal?
Dude, yesterday I hit him up again. Yeah, yesterday I hit him up again. I'm like, hey, dude, are you ever coming on the show? And basically we got to finally get you on, man. And he responded and said, I'd love to do it. And so I hit him back with a few dates. So everybody go tell Sam, come on the freaking show.
Yeah, everyone say, all right, that's actually a good way to end it. Maybe we can talk more about this next week. But everyone
the election's next week.
Yeah.
I think next Tuesday.
Oh, dude.
We can do an election stream.
Yeah, well, yes, maybe. But all right, guys, everyone go. If you're on Twitter, go on Twitter and you get at Sam Tripoli. He has two different ones. You can use either one, doesn't matter. And says, go on Already Dead with at whatever Austin's at is. I forget, Austin Picard. And then
Peter
at
Thug, AWP.
Senor Jose 20, or not Senor. That's my old one. I've had so many alts. at Tower Gang Jose. Say go on Already Dead with him. You go do that. I will retweet it.
Don't let me forget to tell you about this, because I didn't touch on one single note that I really had prepared. So I was just off the cuff this whole freaking time. Yeah, for sure, dude.
Yeah. Well, all right. Austin, you want to let people know where they can find you?
Sounds good, buddy. Everybody check out the last episode I just did with William Ramsey on Mockingbird. I'm scheduled to go back on for part 2 on the 8th, so that'll be fun. And get a little peek and window into the true nature, right, of the elite oligarchy and the operatives that kind of control the outcome in more ways than one, and stop falling for these naive parlor tricks and smoke and mirrors. It's time, it's time to wake up from this long slumber, right?
Sorry, I'm not laughing at you. I just saw an email when I'm rapping from YouTube.
What did they say?
It says, need help? You're not alone. We're reaching out because members of the YouTube community, including fellow creators, viewers, and staff, express concern for your safety or well-being after coming across content you posted with topics related to suicide or self-harm.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
YouTube's
Jose, don't do it. Don't do it, Jose.
All right. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. That made me giggle. But go on.
You're good, buddy. Yeah, I was just about to go on a tangent anyway. It's probably good you cut me off, because really just go and follow me on Twitter or Instagram, and share the show, please. And if for any reason one of these subjects you really kind of enjoy and appreciate my perspective on it, throw something my way. I'm more than grateful, and I'm very much appreciative. But anyway, beyond that, follow the podcast, share it for me, and reach out. By the way, my email's on my podcast website on Buzzsprout. If you ever want to reach out to me for any reason, I'm perfectly willing to engage with most people. So, and beyond that, I'm working on this Pilgrim Society episode, and I'm finally going to try and get this finished by the end of the week. So it'll be on its way.
I look forward to it. Well, if you guys like what I'm doing, you can, and you want to support, it's patreon.com/NoWayJose2020. Lowest level's $2. That gets you the No Way Jose content about a week early. Already Dead, it allows you to be a talking head on the screen. That's also if you support Austin, so go support Austin. I haven't really figured out a perk for my other stuff. But my highest level is I read them off every episode. That's my Patreon sponsors. I'm my co-host Toad, at Tower Gang Toad. I have at Abrogate D's, at ZOVERACK, then at _Zim Infinite Zeal, then Jacob Daniel of the Biblical Anarchy podcast. Follow him at Biblical Anarchy. Then Tim Tuttle at Jolly on Klebold. Then my homie Will Bell is this delicious blueberry rabbit eye wine, and then a big fan of the show at Real Josh Elliott. I do want to remind you guys, tomorrow at 9:30 Eastern, roughly, give or take. I don't know, maybe something will change, but probably at that time I'll be doing a morning stream. We're calling them morning dumps now. It's where I dump all my my information for the morning on you guys. But yeah, come hang out with me. It's a chill time. Talk to you guys in the chat. Kind of go over some information, some threads that I've been wanting to go over anyways, or articles or whatever. I think I have a Ken article and some threads lined up. But yeah, join me. I'm going to be doing this probably at least 3 times a week, these like day streams, so you guys can pop in. But yeah, if you want to support me, patreon.com, NoWayJose2020. Follow me on Twitter at TowerGangJose. And with that, we are out. Go follow Jules.
Yeah.
Gray Pill. We're out.